friends, I'm going to be very brief in my introduction of the company, but I have been tasked with that responsibility by the company, as you will appreciate. So very quickly you will get a flavor of how a steel company works, followed by how we are contributing to the nation building activity, particularly with the case studies of the bridges where we are supplying steel today. So most of you must be aware perhaps that JSW Steel today is India's leading and the largest steel company with 28 million metric tons of capacity, which puts it far ahead of the rest of the pack. And within the JSW group, JSW Steel is the flagship business of a very well diversified group with interests in other core sectors of the economy, including energy, cement, paints and infrastructure. JSW Steel is also one of the fastest growing companies in the world, in India actually, and it is the fastest growing amongst all the steel companies. Its roadmap for the next phase of growth includes a target of achieving 38.5 million tons per annum steel capacity in the next 2 to 3 years by financial year 25. It has got a well diversified portfolio, as you have seen. Over the past 3 decades, JSW has become a multi-locational manufacturing company, and the single largest steel company in India is based out of Vijayanagar, which is a 12 million metric ton capacity plant which has been set up about 20 years back by JSW Steel. We are serving various customer segments with a versatile range of steel products. JSW Shopee is a unique network of stores to meet the needs of individual customers also across the country. And most of these outlets have downstream processing and validation capabilities. At JSW Steel, we believe in working very closely with the end-use customers, understanding their requirements and tailoring our steel products to suit their unique requirements. Okay, so we have a very big application engineering team which first goes to the customers, understand the exact application, and then designs the steel to meet that application. So no supply is made without signing a technical delivery condition with the customer. Some of you may be aware of JSW Steel's color-coated products also, which find extensive application in building and construction. The coating composition consists of an appropriate mix of zinc, aluminium and magnesium to give a unique combination of properties including durability. Suffice to say here that sustainability is in the DNA of JSW. I think several speakers have talked about sustainability today. And our own headquarters in BKC is a steel building. We are also supplying to several projects of national importance, including National High-Speed Rail and the atomic energy projects, etc. So we have been tasked with the responsibility today of taking up a few case studies, and I am taking up the case study of bridges, where new age steel can help in faster development of the country. As some of the eminent speakers in the morning said, under the able leadership of our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, India has set a vision to become a developed country by 2047, and a robust infrastructure is an essential prerequisite to achieve this vision. Accordingly, the government has launched the National Infrastructure Pipeline with a capital outlay of US $1.5 trillion, which is unprecedented. So we as a steel supplier, we feel that steel can be the material of choice for bridging the infrastructure deficit in a developing country like India and making it a developed country faster. Particularly in the area of bridges, where steel has been proven globally, we today have the capability to supply all kinds of steel which go into the bridges, particularly the short-term and medium-span bridges. So we can literally bridge the infrastructure gap which is there in India by supplying the right steel raw materials for construction of steel bridges. It has unique advantages, as the slide suggests. It's an asset for the future. It is recyclable. It conserves sand and water vis-a-vis the concrete structures that we have conventionally. So there is an obvious need for promoting steel for several reasons mentioned here, which include vehicle congestion. I mean, we all suffer, all of us suffer when a big infrastructure project is going on in any city. particularly metro cities. You can see the condition today, hours and hours of traffic jams, and when a project is going on, it prolongs for years and years together very often. We suffer silently, we don't speak about it, but all of us have inhaled a lot of fumes to scar our lungs when the vehicles are standing on the road for hours together. I think as the eminent speakers in the morning said, Mr. Ramakrishnan, Mr. Srinivasan, Mr. Prasad from Railways, the time is of essence, right, of completing a project. And we are changing the way the traffic is running. We want to change by a new project. But at the same time, the traffic continues to run, right? You can't really, during the Corona period, perhaps for a few weeks, the traffic was not there on the roads. But otherwise, in the entire history of a country, 75 years, all the roads have been very, very crowded and congested. So when you try to ease out the traffic by creating a new structure, we end up creating huge inconvenience to commuters for years together. So that is where I think steel can pitch in, and we have never done a valuation of that inconvenience which is created, right? We just see that sometimes perhaps we say that steel is costlier than concrete, but do we look at these intangible aspects of using steel? We don't really do that, right? So what we have attempted to do here is what will be the enablers. So we are looking at creating an ecosystem. I think Mr. Srinivasan was quite vocal about the fact that we have inflicted wounds on ourselves, but we need to start mitigating and healing the wounds now. And I think one of the steps would be to come together and create an infrastructure where wounds can be healed faster, perhaps by starting with educating the young structural civil engineers, perhaps by creating robust codes where we'll be proud to say that we are using Indian codes, and also looking at the life cycle cost instead of just the capital cost of a project. So these are some of the enablers, and of course there are several challenges as mentioned by eminent speakers in the morning, starting with lack of expertise in welding, lack of training, lack of large, I would say, pre-engineered building contractors. But challenges have always been there. I think any situation there is a challenge. But we need to start overcoming that, and I just want to leave you with a few thoughts. I mean, this is a calculation that we have done with the help of some structural engineers and consultants. So you can see that the initial cost of steel is higher as compared to concrete, almost 30 to 40%, right, depending on the size of the project. But the time it takes is much lower, and this is also a very conservative estimate, 2 years versus 3 years. Actually, if the building design and the end-use requirements of the building or bridge are understood properly, and if you front-load the design and design a robust structure, then the execution can be even faster. Perhaps within a year we should be able to make a steel structure versus 3 years that it takes for concrete. In reality, concrete structures take more time, or any civil construction takes more time because of several other legal hurdles and other things that we face in land acquisition, etc. So once the design is done, the fabrication can happen in a factory for steel structure, and the politicians can continue to acquire land. And once they have acquired land, we can just go and put it there in 6 to 8 weeks, right? So hypothetically, it makes a lot of sense. Of course, there will be a lot of twists and turns in the process. But as you can see, the net life cycle value of a steel structure is much lower. So if you look at life cycle cost, steel scores over concrete, the conventional structures of concrete, right? The steel is easy to recycle. It has a recycle value also. The scrap value of steel is also quite high, and therefore people have concerns about longevity of steel. But you have seen I think the Howrah Bridge in Calcutta, which was made in 1943. The Pambam Bridge, I think our colleague from Railways talked about it in the morning. That was made in 1913, I think. 1930. More than 100-year-old structures have survived and done well, whereas concrete has a life of 40 to 50 years. Right? So what we require is a focus on perception, because a lot of people are still in a myth that steel is costly. The reality is that if you look at the life cycle cost, steel definitely scores over concrete. and also a lot of standardization. I think our very senior and respected colleague Mr. Srinivasan talked about it in the morning, and you have seen what has happened in Turkey after the earthquake, where perhaps the standards and the codes were not very robust. So finally, I think through all these initiatives, starting with education of the young engineers, as I had said in the morning, knowledge sharing forums like this, driven by our colleague Mr. Navneet Singh and his team, awareness campaigns, and perhaps leveraging the IT skills which are available in India. So can we do a project evaluation using holistic software-based tools and arrive quickly at a conclusion whether a steel structure will be more suitable for that particular application or project. Okay. So I think through these initiatives we need to convince all the stakeholders that steel can help us in faster growth of our infrastructure, bridging the deficit and making our country a developed country.